Hello, and welcome to another episode of the SENDhelp Podcast. And today I've got quite a unique and quite a good guest, I suppose, obviously, but quite a unique perspective as opposed to has a company and also has worked in schools. It kind of brings everything together. And I won't butcher it anymore. So I'll let Jordyn explain to you about her and Helping Hand and her company and about how great it is what she's doing it, really.
Yeah. So Helping Hand is about offering behaviour, wellbeing, and social, emotional, mental health intervention for both children and young people, and also supporting them in school and out of school, supporting families through sort of navigating what support's available and that sort of thing, and then just general advice as well for parents. And like I said, a lot of it's sort of focused on one-to-one work. And we've recently started doing alternative provision outreach as well. So those students that have got a lot of things going on that are struggling to access education, we're going into the homes and delivering that education externally. And
Yeah.
then obviously alongside this, I've got my son who's going through assessment for neurodivergence himself. He's 8 and I've got a little girl that's 3. So yeah, I definitely feel like I've sort of been both sides. I've been the professional and I've been the parent, and it's super hard from both sides.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Like it is. It's just wherever you look in the STEM world, it is just ridiculously, insanely hard. So
Yeah.
I suppose let's. So where are you at the diagnosis so far? How have you found that journey?
Um, as we all know, it's a lengthy process.
Mm.
We've God, it's been at least 3 years, possibly longer. We've been told we're looking at the end of this year for that formal assessment.
Mm.
So I'm just hoping and praying that we are getting that assessment at the end of the year. So that's sort of where we're at the moment. Education wise, he's struggled massively.
Have
Bless
you?
him. Yeah, yeah. I think like his relationship really broke down with his first school. That was a really sort of challenging time, and I think that's when the need sort of become quite evident. And I think what's really hard is that as much as sort of we promote inclusion and everything within this society, and things are a lot better than they were, but
Mm.
actually it's, I think until you're in that situation and like you're someone that is a little bit different, you don't actually realise how much exclusion there still is, that we aren't as inclusive as we actually think.
Yeah, it's almost like that thing, like they said, like you don't really realise that until you get in a wheelchair yourself, like with the wheelchair access.
Yeah,
Like, and then you realise, like even when people used to be on it for operations and stuff, and they realised they couldn't go anywhere, and it was like shocking that
yeah,
people got into access just to normal things.
yeah, and that's it. And I think that I don't believe that the intention is to exclude people or make people feel different. An example of it is like with my son. So he was seated separately to his class. So he had a little table on his own and the other children were sort of in groups. And that was something quite like significant for him. He's very sociable, bless him. So obviously that was done as to support him, like concentration, to support the other children and stuff. But actually that was like
It's
visual
segregation,
exclusion.
yeah. I come across this on my kid's SARS as well, and he told me this, but I didn't really take it as seriously as I should. But he was like for a year and a half, he was sitting by himself and wasn't allowed
Yeah,
partners and stuff, and
yeah.
that must do something to you mentally, because I couldn't imagine because as much as that's dressed up as a, "Yeah, okay, you're distracting the class," what that's actually doing is they're gonna distract anyway. If they're gonna do it, it just means they're calling
Yeah.
out anyway, for 1, so it
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
solve the problem, and 2, it just means that kid just must feel horrible, like,
yeah,
being separated, to not be trusted to be sitting next to anybody for, like, and it's, as you said, it's not just, like, the odd lesson or 2, it's just, like,
yeah,
consistent, like, where you sit on your own, like, that's
yeah,
horrible.
that's it. And it was so clear that, like, it was impacting him because he come back the one time and he was really upset, and he said, "The teacher said today, talk to your partner." And obviously it was something just sort of said with whatever lesson there was going on, so it was just standard. And he was like, "I was really sad," he said, "because I haven't got a partner because nobody sits by me." And it just absolutely broke my heart because so I think he was in year 1 then. Was it year 1?
See,
Yeah,
that's my
it
boy
must
is
have, so he was
5.
so young.
That's so young. I'll be fuming because that's it integrated. You're just a social butterfly then anyway, aren't you? Just anyway, you
Yeah,
wanna be with your friends and you'll do that to get that kind. God, yeah, that's not good.
yeah, and like I said, their intention wouldn't have been to exclude him. Initially, it would have been to try and support him, but actually, we've got to be so mindful of those decisions that we make because the wider effects are just massive.
It's almost like they're doing the thing about, like, being mixed race. Like, I could comment in it when people say things thinking they're being nice and they're actually being really offensive and making it worse. Like, when they go, "Oh, let me
Yeah.
touch your hair. I've never felt black person's hair before," or that
Yeah.
patronizing. It's like they're stuck in that element with Sen, isn't it? It's almost like they
Yeah.
acknowledge it and they're trying to help, like, just by saying stuff that is actually
Yeah.
no thought and care, and it's actually really, really degrading what you're actually doing. So that, like,
Yeah, definitely.
what actually happens is you leave a kid segregated from his class forever.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
kid's not gonna treat them like that. So if you've done that in front of the class, so the class not then gonna treat that kid like a naughty kid and just to stay away from him because
Yeah.
he's gonna stop their education.
Yeah,
S
and I'll be honest, I'm sure it was either parents even or some sort of conversation that I'd had with the school, and I can't remember the exact words that were said, but basically the kids had sort of clocked on to that he was spoken to quite a lot. And actually there was a time where something had happened and a couple of the kids had gone, "Oh, so and so's done it," and the teacher knew that he hadn't done it. And it was just like it's just crazy, isn't it? That
the
even
payment,
like
yeah.
you say, that it just is mirrored by the kids as well, isn't it? And that's something that the school wouldn't have set out to do, but that was an effect of it.
It is, and a lot of it is ignorance, I think. It is just trying to not doing enough work to try and see the problem, isn't it? But I can understand why not all of them can it, but it there's got to be someone that knows that's not. So, like, I say this on the sense of go bring back to racism again, like with the racism thing that I found with my oldest when he got out of school. The what they done was try to then reintegrate him with this person that was racist, and then told him that he should explain what it feels like to be. And I was thinking,
Yeah.
what? Like, that is insane. And then they was talking about him going out in front, doing like a Black History Month, and him talking. I was thinking, this kid is cool to cars. He doesn't even have an identity like that. Like, he doesn't even have, like, for one, he doesn't know himself, and he's too young anyway. But
Yeah.
it was shocking to me to see that that's actually a protocol in actual every school.
Yeah.
It's almost like that outdated thing with, like, it needs to be looked at. But you must know by now that that's not going to help. Like, someone in that
Yeah.
school, you'd think would say, "This has got to be, it's got to be somewhere
Yeah.
better." And it shouldn't
Yeah.
take like that autistic teacher or that blackhead teacher to then think, "Oh my God, yeah,
Yeah.
that's not right." Which I feel like with Sen, it's going to take a lot of autistic and ADHD people in
Yeah.
higher positions to get that change really recognised. Because I think otherwise
Yeah.
we've got no hope.
100%, 100%. And I think actually when you look at some of the work arrangements that we can get as adults,
Mm.
and you think that how is that available for an adult, but we're not making some of these reasonable adjustments for children that
Yeah,
have
we're
obviously
so
got
harsh on kids.
additional needs on top of being a child.
Well, it's even mad about like the schooling. Like, would you go to your workplace and then have someone screaming at your face?
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't. But kids do it in school, and it's just
Yeah.
normalised that a head
Yeah.
teacher or an adult in power would then scream at the child,
Yeah.
and it's like, what is going on? Like,
Yeah.
because you're right, and as I said, when I was working as a manager, like a lot of, maybe I'd say there's too many reasonable adjustments. I would say that. But for when it comes to like anxiety and stuff like that, then I would say that there is a lot of legal loopholes that you can make in it, and but
Yeah.
that's a good problem to have in the sense of that there's so much support out there that you can kind of wheedle through it. I'd rather that than have none and be suffering. And it's crazy that you get to adult life and your whole life at school, you've been like, no, you can't make exceptions, can't do this. You
Yeah.
feel like a piece of crap. You go into workplace, you're like, oh, what would you like? And it's
Yeah.
almost like they're work see it differently, don't they? They're like, we don't want to
Yeah.
get in trouble, we don't want to do anything wrong, we want you guy does. And that's
Yeah.
like, it's crazy the approach shift so quickly.
Yeah. And that's what's really sad, isn't it? Because the impacts that it has as a child that carries on like what you achieve at school is so like yes we can like do like a learning, but actually like what you walk out of school with is so valuable. And
Yeah,
we're not supporting as much as we could be, and that's what's and it is so sad, isn't it, that we are in that position.
it is, yeah. So is this how you kind of, is that where you kind of got your idea for your company from seeing
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so obviously, I don't want to call it a scapegoat, but I think a lot of places say we can't do much without a diagnosis.
Mhm.
When actually, there's so many like
Yeah, I
early
hear that all
things
the
that we
time.
can do, and that's what this idea is. It's that early intervention. So it's not medical or anything like that. It's just early intervention. We do work around emotional regulation, anxiety, managing feelings, lots of different things that actually we can do at this level. This hasn't got to happen from a medical professional, which is
No.
obviously that's the hard place to get at the moment. So
Mm.
it's been that how I sort of explain it to schools is we're that support gap in between. We're whilst children are waiting, or whilst that we're seeing needs starting to arise, this is when we try and put that support in place, because these little things can have such a massive impact.
I think that's amazing. And it is, and schools do need to recognise that. And I think again, that goes back to the method of it. If they think like a doctorate has to come in to have like a magic wand that's going to go, yep, and that's how you fix it. When
Yeah,
realistically, it is people like you, and it's the parents, and it's the people living it every day that are the ones that need to be coming in to give it that support. And a lot of it is crazy, but we're that far bad in the SEN world that a lot of it is just being heard.
yeah,
I don't know about you, but a lot of the work I do around that sort of thing is a lot of it's taken away when they feel heard, and then a lot of
yeah,
it's gone again. And it's like they just needed to be supported, like just literally
yeah,
just someone to bounce some ideas off. They knew what they're doing. A lot of these parents know what they're doing. They just
yeah,
get so they got no one to double check that with, that they start doubting themselves. Then they get gaslit with the school's opinions
yeah,
sometimes, and it's just,
yeah,
and as I said, early intervention. Why they're not doing more of it? Because I think they
yeah,
think ADHD is like like kicking doors in and stuff like that, when they're
yeah,
actually seeing kids in crisis there, and that's not.
yeah.
Yes, he's got ADHD, or yes, they've got autism, but they're living in crisis. That's the
Yeah.
crisis level of behaviour.
Exactly, that's it. So having this early intervention is just massive. Emotional regulation is massive, even without additional needs. Like that's something that we do need to support children with, because it's hard. So many of us adults can't regulate our emotions properly, because maybe that's something that we needed to embedded in our education. I just think it's such an important tool, and it's something that sometimes I have to remind myself. I'm teaching all these different strategies and whatnot, but then I think there's some situations I think, "Oh, I need to not take that on myself."
Yeah, no, that's it. So what are you finding with the schools' responses to you? Like, obviously, you're pretty successful. I think we spoke about it before. You're getting into it, and you've got some now, isn't it? Like, are they being welcoming? Are they like, is it going well?
Yeah, no, so a lot of schools are quite impressed by what we're offering at the moment, because it is something that's not really sort of seen at the moment. I think we are waiting for that crisis point. So I think it is quite unique in that sense, that schools are like, actually, this is really good. I think the biggest barrier is obviously budgets and things like that, but I've tried to make it accessible as possible, because I'm not in this financially. Going into education and schools would be the total wrong place to go.
Yeah.
It's because it's something that I feel strongly about, because I've saw the effects that through my child, and even going back to my education, I know that I'm not going to be the only parent that's gone through this journey and thought, I've so got ADHD myself.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a very regular part of my life, especially advice calls and support calls. I'm like, so when are you going to get your diagnosis? Like, and
Yeah,
it's like, it's not being rude. It's just because it's got to come from somewhere, right? And I'm pretty
yeah,
sure it's like 95% pass rate. Like,
yeah, and that's it, is it? And I suppose when I think back when I was at school, there's so many things that I can identify now as those sort of traits, and
Mm,
it is crazy. But I think actually, because those traits and things like that were missed, and there wasn't the awareness that there is now. Is that why the mental health is at such crisis point? Is that
yeah,
why our adults are struggling so much with anxiety, depression, eating disorder, so many different things? Because could there have been a change if
mm.
we had those needs identified then? I don't
Do,
know.
do you, this is going to be like a controversial question. How do you ask this? What do you see? I know what I mean. I know I don't mean any harm by it, but I know that off the cast people are going to get pissed off by even asking this question, because it's such
Yeah.
a sensitive topic. But it has to be said, and it's something that I struggle to even get even into my app and stuff like that. How much do you see the effect of what you just said about parents missing and not being managing being the effect and some of the reason of why the home life is the way it is? Because there is the argument, what I'm trying to say is the argument is that schools are back, and the argument, if you think devil's advocate, schools say this is all parenting, this is all because it needs to go in the
Mhm.
home and to do this. But realistically, it's probably maybe a little bit true, but not that much true. And I see bits of it. But how do you see? How do you see?
I do definitely see those sort of situations where I think things are challenging, because also the parents struggling, because trying to sort of navigate, like I said, it's a bit of a wake up call sometimes when you're like, oh my God, this is me. And you're seeing it through your child, and it's hard. But then at the same time, you're battling with I don't know how to put it, but your needs then come last, don't they? And then that sort of
Yeah.
advocating for your child and supporting your child, that then comes first. But then I think that's why parents then do get to crisis point themselves because they can't cope, because they can't regulate their emotions, because there's so much going on that they're struggling with as well. And then on top of that, they're adding the children's needs. And I think that's what's really challenging. But at the same time, as a parent, got time to pursue a diagnosis for themselves and get their support when it's so hard to get the child's support. So it's like
Yeah.
that then goes bottom of the pile, doesn't it? So
And I think what that creates, and I kind of see that quite a lot, is like the parental anxiety loop with the child, where it's almost like impossible to separate the anxiety the child has and anxiety that the parent has, because it kind of morphs into one big
mhm,
anxiety ball. And I think that's where schools are saying about, if you're coming really anxious and stuff like that, then no wonder the kid's anxious. Like, and it's a very
yeah,
off the cuff thing to say, but it does have meaning, and it's something that's very hard to address directly. But again, why? And because it is unfair, because it's
mhm,
not like the parent had the chance to get the diagnosis, the medication,
yeah,
just like the child hasn't, and then get the 5 years to learn about it themselves, and then do it, and then no, and at the same time they've just found this out. The school are going year by year, and if you're not getting your needs met, it's going to get harder and harder the longer the school year goes on, and you could be
yeah,
left with a kid that doesn't even get a diagnosis for 6 years after even thinking about
yeah,
one. Like,
yeah,
and it's just a horrible cycle, isn't it? But then it does
yeah,
cause its own issues in that cycle loop of having that unsupported
yeah,
journey together, I suppose, isn't it? Of that fight. It
yeah.
causes a lot of bad mental health.
And I think really that the sort of only way that we can try and combat that is that and it's very much easier said than done, but parents and schools working as a partnership, because
Yeah.
I know myself it's difficult. It is really difficult, but that is something that we have got to try and invest in. And that's something that I'm trying to sort of bring forward with the work I'm doing as well, that we want to support that parental engagement, because when they do work as a partnership, that the impact is massive, absolutely massive.
I hate to say it, but I actually agree with you. Recently, I've actually come to that conclusion. It's hard because it's not sometimes the school you're fighting. It's more like I like to separate the schools into teachers, and then they've got the head teacher
Mhm,
and upwards. And it's almost a divide, isn't there? And it's like working together with the teachers on the floor, because they're actually going through similar, if not the same issues
mhm,
as we are. As
yeah,
for head teachers and that, I'm still not convinced. But that's what I'm saying. Is the way it's because the job role
yeah,
is a business. You're running it as a business. You're not running it for the kids. So you're never gonna have that morals. And if you did, then you're not going to be a good head teacher. So it doesn't make sense to have that kind of
yeah,
empathy and all of the time and want to invest in Sen and doing all of that, because it doesn't make sense of being an effective head teacher. So I know that it kind of stops there, but I think you're absolutely right when it comes to teachers. And I know, but because what happens is we're all fighting the same thing. No one says that. And you just kind
yeah,
of end up with two corners, don't you?
yeah,
It's crazy when I came into this thinking I was going to kind of do what you done, but I kind of backed off of that because of my own things were happening with Calvin, and because of my own
mhm,
rants kind of dictated that course. I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I got into a couple of schools and stuff, but it's that relationship building is very hard
mm,
to be that middle person, isn't it? So what you're doing is actually
yeah,
very hard to come from both angles, because you're literally always telling them bad news that they don't want to hear. And it makes sense in the sense
yeah,
of it's hard not what they really want to be is heard, and to not to be heard,
yeah,
not to be challenged is
yeah,
what they kinda need, but you need to challenge some of these views because it's harmful, like the parents just
mhm,
outright sometimes requesting the world from these teachers, and it's just
yeah,
impossible, and I see that a lot, and then no wonder the teacher's giving you rubbish and,
yeah,
limiting your emails and whatever, but then at the same
yeah,
time, you see the teachers with the bad attitudes that don't actually care, and it's like they don't help, and then you've got, like, things like Teachers Talk Radio that just give the narrative of.
yeah,
And it's, I mean, quite it's just such an entwined battle of different
yeah.
sides, but it seems like the kids are the ones that are missing out, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. The thing is, when you do strip it back and you do look at it just as numbers, so you look at your attendance, attainment, and all those sort of things, and that's something that obviously schools are focusing on. They'll be raised, won't they, when we do invest in this sort of support?
Yeah.
That's how we raise those numbers, because I don't know off the top of my head, but attendance nationally is we're really struggling nationally.
Yeah, I think it's the worst. It's kind of been in it.
Yeah. So, and a lot of that will be down to additional needs and the social, emotional, mental health of young people, and that there is so many factors, and it is like I said, I just think we just do need to try and work as a partnership, and we all want to achieve the best. And I believe that the kids do. The kids want to succeed at school. That
Mm,
they do want to do well.
absolutely.
Every child wants somebody to be proud of them. They
Yeah.
really do, and a lot of them sort of feel that the relationship's broken down with school, with professionals, sort of social services, lots of different people, because that's just how they feel. I'm not saying that there isn't times where they have been let down,
Mm.
but it's that they want to do well, and I just think that we've got to prioritise that, because actually when we invest in that and what we're sort of raising and sort of the next generation, that's the only way we're going to sort of better things, isn't it? And it
I
can
think that
happen.
we need to meet in the middle, don't we? Like the parents and the teachers have to meet in the middle, because I think like stuff like the white paper, both singing the same thing.
Yeah,
And if you're not, this is where we need to. This is the power of the white paper. Actually, might have actually given the silver lining of the one first time ever we can actually unite over the same common issue. Like the
yeah,
schools are saying we can't do this. Teachers are saying how the hell are you meant to do this? We're saying we know that we can't do this.
yeah.
And almost so it does. That's the only positive I can see in it. The separation and the chance that we've got to get together. Because if we can't afford another 5 to 10 years of this,
No.
and what will happen is, I fear, the next generation, because of all the parents fighting for the schools and stuff, the kids are not going to trust schools. So the next generation of kids are
Mhm.
automatically, no matter what you put in front of them, no matter what budget, what schools, I'm not going to school. Why would I? Why would I send
Yeah,
my kids to school? That is awful. It's the worst thing
yeah,
they can do. And that's what I'm trying to hope that this kind of hurries up, because if not, you're going to have that generation of kids going and having kids that are not going to go to school, which is
yeah,
going to leave a deficit in the world,
yeah,
really, isn't it?
yeah. That's it. And it's so scary, isn't it? Because I think, when I look at when I was at school and how things are now, and it's, I don't. It's really difficult to sort of put your finger on what the root cause is,
Mm.
but it is challenging for everyone involved. And like I said, I've been on the receiving end as a professional and a parent. I've had parents really upset with how things have gone in school, and we talked through the problems. I've then also been on the receiving end of my child coming home and having a meltdown because he hasn't felt heard at school. And it's so hard, and I think it's so easy for us to act on emotion, but it's natural.
Yeah.
If your child's not in that position, you can't help but act on emotion. The amount of times that I got, like, I'd get him in the car and he'd have a massive meltdown. He'd be screaming, crying, kicking, and I'd say, "Why haven't you told the school?" And he said, "Look, I don't want to get in more trouble." And I'd then go and take him to speak to a teacher, and I can tell that the teacher doesn't want to really speak because they want to get off. And not in a bad way, because like, she's probably drained. Like there's been a
Yeah.
million things, and then there's this on top of. Uh, it's hard, isn't it? But it's just something that we've got to invest in, because look at how many teachers are leaving the profession.
Yeah, that's the other one as well, isn't it? Because the
Yeah,
deficit, and as selfishly as much as I say I love it, because I'm getting through into my app, and then they're teaching all the people in my app all loads of stuff. It's going to cause a problem, because
yeah,
they're I'm not. Well, actually, that's a bad thing to say that they're the good ones, but they are a lot of the good ones. They are
mhm,
a lot of the ones that unfortunately have had the child, like you're saying, and then have
yeah,
realised that there is not much they can do, especially when they're having to live this at home. And they've
yeah,
had to prioritise. So they've had to prioritise their home life and then put everything down and either make a company or do something with their teaching, or just actually, the saddest one is when they've had to just not do any. They're just
yeah,
sitting there, just like being a mum and living this crisis, and have like been to uni and done all these degrees and been a teacher for 10 plus years and not being able to
yeah,
do anything with it now. Has
yeah,
no life. Like, that's so sad to see. I hate that.
yeah. And it's hard, isn't it? Because we've got so many services, but obviously they are overstretched, and
Mm.
it's just
It's
what is the answer?
I think though, on the governmental way, it's more deliberate. They know it. I just don't think they take it seriously.
Mm,
I think it's one of them. If they knew how, again, even if the public opinion, because it doesn't make sense for no one to make that their main campaign. So, like, if you think right now how many Sen kids are and how much of that would
mhm,
swing automatic votes if you put that as your main campaign piece.
yeah,
Yeah, but they're not even understanding that. They're not even understanding how
yeah,
many of us there is. Like, I don't think you can tell by
yeah,
the posts that they're doing as well. You're so,
yeah,
you've got that detachment, haven't they, from like the real world? Like,
yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah. And it's just something that you can never really understand until I think you've been a parent of it, or
Yeah,
because the emotion and like it's so hard. Like how it affects you as a parent, it just absolutely breaks my heart how it must affect the child. Oh,
yeah.
because the things that how I feel things, and I just think, and I think that's probably why I feel them so intensely, because they're just a child. They've got all these things going on, but they're still just a child, and the child, like, being a child is hard anyway.
I wonder as well, like stuff like social media, of how much the child can actually see, because at a very young age, you know, YouTube Shorts and stuff like that, they're going to see these
Mm.
things that pop up. We see it all the time about ADHD, autism, this and that.
Yeah.
And even the news articles, like it does worry me that they got access to all of that and we don't know what that's
Yeah.
going to do because, you know, that's the sort of stuff was hidden around for our parents. Because let's just watching the news, but why would we want them watch the news? It
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
kind of there, but it's kind of forced in your face in
Yeah.
60 seconds then, and you can already get a previous,
Yeah.
click on the comments, they're going to see, and it's just like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just so accessible, isn't it? Obviously, and I think some schools I think they have a school laptop, and all the work is run through the school laptop, and it's hard, isn't it? Like, we do need to move with the times, but then I don't know. Have we got a balance, especially with screens? It is really tricky with screens because the impact, like I say, when you're scrolling and it's so instant, and that's not how life works, is it? And we know that, but it's something that's embedding in children's brains when they're flicking through, and it,
It's meant to do that, isn't it? That's what I'm saying. And I think I saw something about the person that done the YouTube Shorts, whose idea it was for that. It's some Japanese man, and he said that he wouldn't have done it if he realised the impact it was going to have on the kids.
wow.
And because there were studies, and it was around the concentration levels of kids now have got dropped like 30% already. So that's shocking. In the last, like, I
Mm,
think it was like 25 years or something like that. And it's like, and the last biggest push of that has been the last 5 to 10 years when we've had the Shorts where everything's 60
yeah.
seconds. And I notice this of all of my kids. I've got one that doesn't even have ADHD. It's just more
Mhm.
autistic. Can't sit through a film.
Yeah.
Can't watching like a program start to finish is insane. Why would I do that? Like,
Yeah.
and even if they're doing it and scrolling, or
Yeah.
they've got on the games, he has like an alt account. You play the same
Mhm.
game, but have one version on it, like Roblox on his phone, and then he'll play it
Yeah.
on the PlayStation. And it's just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. When we think about the way we brought up, we had to wait for what
Yeah.
we was watching on TV. It was like, oh,
Yeah.
it's coming on next week.
Yeah.
That kind of balance needs to come back. I think that
Yeah.
kind of middle ground,
100%.
the instant
100%.
of everything is insane. It
Yeah.
really is. Like,
Yeah, it is. So, like you said, even like skipping ads and things like that. God, that would be like, it's just alien, isn't it?
I know, and what the hell, skipping it? And how well that works is that we now get mad about ads on YouTube. Like, we've
Yeah,
grown up with 3 minutes, like, no, 3-minute minimum ad for one, and then
yeah,
you go through like maybe like like I said, in between programs or in between your films,
yeah,
like you had it in that, like, do you know what I mean? You just had to go for a toilet break. We used it to get a coffee.
yeah,
Like, now it's just annoyance.
yeah,
Like, just can't bear it. I hate it.
yeah. And I don't think many kids even watch TV anymore, do they?
Uh,
Really, it's Netflix and, like you say, YouTube and things like that. So it is crazy, isn't it? How, as a whole, everything's just made a massive shift.
It has, and I think and this is where the adaptation needs to come really, I think, into school, because life has changed very rapidly, and I think very
Mhm.
rapidly to the point of, because of screens and the access to information, it's not so much we've developed faster, it's that we can all get information at our fingertips instantly. Where
Yeah,
that was forever, that's been a thing that you have to have knowledge, you have to know a person, and it would be,
yeah,
now it's just you can kind of be a genius just from ChatGPT. That's the
yeah,
level we're at now, and it's
yeah.
it's just insane to think that we've not replicated that into school at all,
Hmm.
about trying to fit what actually
Yeah.
we need in school to what we don't need in school. And I think if we'd just done that, neurodiversity as a whole would fit into school better. Instead of
Hmm.
targeting it as SEN, just change it to how it's meant to be, to what we're doing in life, and it would open up the
Yeah.
door to a lot more.
Yeah. And my son turned around and said, I'm sure it was only last week, he said, "I don't need to go to school. We've got ChatGPT now. I can find out anything I want."
I mean, I would be the same as him. I would be saying that. Why? And do you know as well, I would hate to be a teacher right now, because they would run, I would run everything through it. If I had,
Yeah.
like, I'd be like, oh, well, the ChatGPT says, and you're gonna that. Can you imagine how many times teachers hear that now? Like,
Yeah.
you're like, oh,
Yeah. It it is crazy. And it's scary, isn't it? Because like, you've people use it for medical advice, legal advice, like, absolutely everything. But I think something that they've got to try and focus on in school is not make it alien, like try and you've got to
incorporate
sort
it.
of, yeah,
You
yeah,
can't keep it
and
banned.
show how it can be used to incorporate into your work, but still make it your work, still make it unique. Do you want it just to be generated? Like, there's so much creativity in kids, and it's it's scary, isn't it, that they're going to lose that creative side if they lean so heavily on AI.
Yeah, I was saying this the other day, like, even for like photo editing, like, I just didn't realize like how pissed I would be if I was a photo editor. My life was to making photos, because you could type something
Yeah.
to ChatGPT, three seconds, and it does a picture. And you're like,
Yeah.
that used to be such an important part of a business, that you needed someone to
Yeah.
make the graphics, to make this, and it's like, that's all gone. Like,
Yeah.
just that creativity, that branch has just been shut down.
Yeah.
Like, because it's not so much about the pictures on ChatGPT being great, because they're not, and everyone can kind of tell. It's the
Yeah.
ease and quickness, and you're not
Yeah.
paying. So like, you're
Yeah.
never going to tell someone, okay, but I'll give me £100, I'll do that. And you're like, how long for? I'll give me 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You're like, well, I need it
Yeah.
now. Like,
Yeah.
it's just that the time is something that they've really skipped on, isn't it? And it's we need to slow down.
Yeah. And it is so powerful, isn't it? But it d I don't know if you remember, like, when they started the self-checkout and it was a bit of an uproar, it's like, that's losing people's jobs and stuff, and it's exactly the same with AI,
Yeah,
isn't it? Like, but people don't need to do anything. When I was looking at different things, on this virtual office, it was like, "Do you want a, AI, phone system?" And AI will answer calls and just send you the data, and you just thought, "Wow,
yeah.
it's a crazy world we live in."
It is. It's just going to automate a lot. But this is, if they put that into, they should, as you said, jump in front of that and use that in schools,
Mhm.
because they need to incorporate. And AI is everywhere. And if they are using AI, like they definitely
Yeah.
are. Teachers are not using AI. Everyone's using AI. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, and I said it's not even just maybe ChatGPT, but a
yeah,
convenience AI that's just going to do something like the phone call logs, or
yeah,
a post scheduler or something. Like, we're trusting everyone's trusting at least one,
yeah.
like, to do something, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, I know it's used quite commonly with lesson planning, isn't it? Because obviously that takes a lot of time, and I think that's what teachers have sort of said, that it is, and it is hard, isn't it? Like, 'cause it takes so much time. So something like that, you can see the benefits of that, but it's just having that balance, isn't it? Because it would be so easy to solely rely on that.
yeah,
But
then you
then
open, yeah.
we're losing that personal touch of all these amazing teachers that have got all these creative ideas and all these different things, and we don't want to lose that, and it just becomes sort of your standard. Yes, it ticks every box, but where's the creative side of it, and that personalised touch?
Yeah. I mean, it does as well. Like, it shuts off. It's going to change a lot of job roles, as I said, because it's not that stuff like I said, that virtual assistant role was
Mhm.
definitely take away AI, because again, the
Yeah.
quick and easiness and the level that they could do this much data compared to a
Yeah,
person can. Why would you not? Like, and it's going to cost you
that's
like
it. Yeah,
£10 a month or something
yeah,
like that. It's
yeah.
crazy, but it again, going back to schools, that would then just only leave the things that it couldn't do. So like music, the
Mhm,
probation, the side that neurodiversity should thrive in, and yet that's not going to
mhm.
be taught in school.
Yeah, yeah,
You're just going to teach them the stuff
yeah,
that ChatGPT can do 6 times faster.
yeah. No, that's it. That's it. To be fair, that's something that I do love about my son. He's so creative, and he does make me laugh. Like, if there's a new toy he wants, he'll say, "Can I have this? Can I have that?" And I'm like, "Maybe not right now." I'm like, "Okay, I'll just make it." And the things that he has made out of paper, and honestly, I wish I had pictures. Actually, it is quite funny. He wanted Baymax, that Disney character, and it's like a big sort of white blob. So he's got cotton buds and turned that into. He was like, "I've got one now."
No, that's good. That is good.
And it would be so sad, wouldn't it, to sort of live in a society where kids aren't creative, they're not using their own thoughts. Because I saw an advert actually, and it was like, um, oh, I don't know, ChatGPT or whatever. Someone said hello to me. What do I do? And you can imagine it getting to that point, can't you? Because people won't be socialising because they're. You can. Oh, there's people with relationships, isn't there, with
Oh,
AI
don't
and
do oh my God. Can you, I do you know, I'd love to see the data on that. How many relationships has this thing ruined?
yeah,
And I guarantee you, the very thing about it is you could both be on it and it'll be taking both your sides. Like, because
yeah,
the thing that people don't realise is ChatGPT, the way it works, its algorithm is giving you the most predictable, like what it thinks what it needs to say next. So
yeah,
it's always going to appease, unless you put strict instructions in not to do that, it's
yeah,
really always going to appease on one side. So thinking they're getting alien advice from this ChatGPT alien robot that's got all of the advice,
yeah,
relationship advice in it. And oh God, it is. I can only imagine like how many people, like, well, ChatGPT
yeah,
says, like,
yeah,
oh, I couldn't remember. But then you're right. It's like a
yeah,
Black Mirror episode, isn't it? Where people are going to
yeah,
lose the the complete will to
yeah.
be able to. I think South Park have done an episode on this already.
Oh, really?
South Park have done a whole episode, and I think I remember it because the kids they was using it in school to talk to each other. So they were trying to
Yeah.
get girlfriends biting so the boys were using it every time the girls were texting, and they was replying through ChatGPT, and it was obviously being like really buttered up and all like stuff
Wow.
like that. And it just got South Parky from there, and it just ended up a massive thing
Yeah.
about them all using the ChatGPT for everything. But it's true.
Yeah, and it is scary, isn't it? Like I say, it can be used so effectively, but I think it is something that we've got to be so mindful of.
Yeah.
So mindful of. Because like I say, look at the comment that my son made. He was like, I don't need school, I've got ChatGPT
Yeah.
to sort of
Do you think there as well, going on to like emails and stuff, that's another thing that's going to come because what used to happen is if you'd written it professionally and written it nicely, you would be able to you'd stand out, and that would kind of get your responses
Mhm,
without the emotion. Like, but now everyone has ChatGPT, and
mhm,
everyone can give that high professional lawyer kind of email that you
yeah,
need to do this, you need to do this. They're just going to ignore all of that now, and that's not even going to be
yeah,
a threat. So I worry about
yeah.
that as well.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, and again, like I say, it can be powerful because parents that do struggle to communicate and with things like that, they're expressing concerns to schools. It can be powerful for them, but at the same time, you don't want to. I don't know, not get your actual message across because it's so
Yeah.
heavily changed. Because you can quote this law, that all these
And if
different
you don't
things, but
understand what you're quoting, which I think I understand
yeah,
sometimes happens, isn't it?
exactly.
You can read it and it's be like, oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
But if you don't actually double check that that's actually correct, you could sometimes be in a
Yeah,
position where you've made it up.
yeah, and that's it. And the thing is, yes, it's a bit like, whoa, like when you're on the receiving end of it, but actually what that message is giving out isn't what the parent really wants. It might be something really trivial. It might be something that, like you say, they just want to be heard. They just want these smaller things, but it's just completely like blown out of proportion because ChatGPT has made a full blown essay as to why things
Yeah.
are the world's wrong.
Yeah. So you do think that have you done any lessons or anything like that with parents and teachers together?
So we do meetings together, so everybody's on the same page. So that's with the child involved as well.
Of course.
So we want all sides to be heard. And we create a plan that's agreed by all, and that's the delivery method as well, whether it be in the home, in school, in a community centre. We'll make those adjustments, and we haven't got a program that's just this. So we haven't got a book, and that's what we follow. Every child has their personalised plan, and that's something that we all agree on. And we'll listen to all points of view sort of separately, and then we come together and say, well, actually, you want that and you want that. So it's just being that middle ground and saying, look, we all want the same thing. And
Mm.
actually, there's this input from this side, and it's just sort of bringing them together because parental engagement is so important because, like you say, there's so many people that have got negative perceptions, and it's not always intentional. It will be because they're obviously overstretched themselves, but it's just something that we do need to invest in because we will get a better outcome for everybody, and everybody will be happy. The child will be doing better. The school and parent will have a better relationship. So it is something massive.
Yeah.
And then, like I say, once we go through this personalised plan, they then have this plan and it's taken with them even after the sessions. So that's something then that the school have got as a resource. But also within those sessions, we've collected a lot of evidence. So if it is a child that's sort of going through any sort of diagnosis or applying for EHCP and things like that, we've also got a massive bank of evidence as well. So we'll do a tracker for each session. So if there's any like dysregulation or any little things that we notice, it's furthering the evidence as well to what
Right.
support that child needs.
That's good, yeah. Like, I was just wondering, like, it's good that you do the personal. I think, again, that's another thing I was going to come on to. Like, I think where people go wrong, again, in general, is trying to fix ADHD and autism with a fix and not this is what it means to this child. That is
Yeah,
what you need to be saying. Not
yeah,
autism is this, ADHD is this. This is where, and it's like crazy that then they try and put a bracket and the behaviour has to be fitting this threshold. If it goes outside the box, well, we don't know what that is. Everyone
yeah,
with the way it is, how long you're waiting for a diagnosis, with the neurodiversity in families, so you're growing up in that kind of household as well, with trauma, with then
yeah.
personality. There is no way you can never say that ADHD is this and this is what's going to happen. I
Mhm.
mean, there's obvious symptoms like the excessive movement and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
again, that comes up in so many different ways to a child. So you're not
Yeah.
going to see the same way every single time. And I think the whole time we're trying to put a plaster on it, trying to say, yeah, that'll fix it to the most part, it's not
Yeah.
going to work, because you can't just cover a lot
No.
of people off with one method. Like,
No.
eventually it's like them autism friendly showings, and they're like, yeah, we've turned the lights on. We're like, what? So you've robbed them of the experience. They're in the cinema with the
Yeah.
lights on. Who said they didn't like lights?
Yeah.
That's Google. That wasn't even ChatGPT that said
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
But
it,
it's
isn't it?
like, if you what you really need to do is see who's coming, ask the parents, is there anything they really don't like, and tailor as many dislikes as you can to that session.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it, isn't it? Like, when I worked in a specialist school, that was something that I think they do it a lot in primary school, actually. Like, a student has like a student passport, and that's
Mm,
loads of little things about them. And
mm.
actually, like, sometimes like having that is really powerful, because there's lots of staff in schools, but there might be situations where they'll speak to somebody new. But if information like that's quite easily accessible, that you like you say, this child struggles with loud noises, or this child has got a special interest in trains or something like that. It's so powerful, because
Yeah.
then somebody that's a complete stranger can go in there and make that child feel at ease straight away.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, because I used to have them when I used to work in schools as well, and they are amazing. And it's like, because ours was really challenging behaviour and there's like non-verbal, we really relied on that, so that I really heavily, and it is, you can fill enough
Mhm.
information in there to kind of give yourself like a 6-month head start from being
Yeah.
cold, can't you? Like, especially when it comes to autism, and their special interest straight away. So you
Yeah.
can go in there
Oh,
straight away,
it's
and it's
massive,
like,
isn't it?
yeah, because otherwise you're going in there trying to talk to the child. They don't, then they're just giving you the cold shoulder, and you're thinking, oh, they hate me,
Yeah.
or "Oh, who's this guy?" When you could just go in there, talk about what they're going to talk about for the next 6 hours, and then
Yeah.
that relationship, like,
Yeah,
you
that's
grow
it.
from there.
Yeah, and I think in every like schools and any industry, like, staffing can be challenging, can't it? Like,
Mhm.
so when you've got something like that, yes, time can be hard, but the impact that it has, that if somebody, like you say, is covering or that is meeting you for the first time, the impact's massive. And again, that's going to help that relationship with school. The child's going to feel that personal bond as well.
Yeah, and it's a very easy thing for that child to then have input in it. It doesn't have to be medical, it doesn't have to be this. It's likes,
Hmm.
interest, what you prefer, what you don't like in the classroom, what to watch out for, what kind of, it comes through the
Hmm.
child, doesn't it? So it's a child's mouth saying, it's not your interpretation or an educational psychologist, it's literally from
Yeah.
the child. So it really
Yeah.
helps. It's like child friendly in a sense of, it's explained like the child would say it, like, so you know
Yeah.
exactly what to do and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure I felt something similar out when my son started school. Obviously, that would have been reception,
I was
but I
going to say,
think
do they
it's
do that now?
something like throughout secondary. Like, if that child's having that additional support, it'd be so impactful for an older child as well.
Yeah, I've spoken to someone like this. A lady's been on podcast a couple times. Vicky, she's making something that kind of matches up to this, where she's doing like a card, and it's like it has them information on it. So her thing at the moment is it can be used in schools. She knows it can be used in school stuff, but at the moment it's for emergencies and medical. So like, if a child non-verbal goes missing,
Hmm.
they would have this card on them that you just
Yeah.
ping, and then you get a level of information. So they'd be like, okay, they're autistic, they don't like this, and
Mhm.
also for hospitals. So like you just said, so when they go to hospitals, it pings, the nurse pings it, and it will say, okay, they like this, and they like that, and they like this. So we can make
Yeah.
it safe. So instead of having to guess, it's just that instant. And then,
Yeah.
so I was going to ask as well today. So is that still only a specialist thing? They don't do that much in mainstream anymore, still, or they didn't? Well,
Not that I can say that of. There can be sort of personalised plans and things like that, but
it's too in
not not
depth.
not some. And like I say, it doesn't have to be like a really lengthy document, does it? It could
No.
literally be an A4 piece of paper,
Yeah.
all about me, and these key little things. So I can't say it's something that I've seen a lot, but like I said, when we do the work with kids, we try and run them on a 6 to 12 week program. It can be extended if it needs to be, but whenever they do sort of leave the program, that they do have that plan.
That's
We
pretty
will
good.
do a formal plan where we've gone through everything, and we've identified the strategies that do work. And as an external provider, it's I just feel like we can fully invest in that. It's difficult, because in schools there's lots of different roles, and the idea is, I don't know, a pastoral role or whatnot, or the amount of covering and day-to-day firefighting is so challenging within schools that the role doesn't always serve its justice,
Mm.
because there's so much going on day to day, and unfortunately that is a school life, isn't it? So I think that it is valuable to use external providers when available. Obviously,
Oh, absolutely.
I know it's easier said than done with budgets and things like that, but it's massive because we're just invested in delivering that.
Yeah, I was shocked when I started doing it how much, because it wasn't me doing it. It was before you'd be like, of course, I'm not going to let you into school. But I had Sharon, and she was a head teacher of an SEN school, right? So
Yeah,
she already was top level in that, and we was going in that openly. And it was almost like if we knew a few people, so we got into them schools. If we didn't
yeah,
know them, no one wanted to know. And it's like,
yeah,
I almost naively thought at the time, oh my God, they're going to bite our hands off for doing this. Like, we
yeah,
kind of started, as you said, the same as you, like being in the middle, being able to work with the parents, kind of making the
yeah,
parents understand actually how it works, and also at the same time helping you if there's anything you do in class. And
yeah.
it was only for people that she knew that we got into there, not
Mhm.
from, and it's just like, is it still like that? That who's, I think the decision makers of the schools are not the teachers, are they? And that's the problem as well. The teachers
Yeah.
will still be going, oh my God, this is great. But it's
Mhm.
going up the ladder, and it's going to like another thing. And then you've got other people that are charging schools for stuff. That
Mhm.
the thing is, the unknown thing about schools, and you'll say it as well, it's not that they haven't got a budget. They do spend a budget. They just spend it on stupid things. The things that
Yeah.
they're still bringing people in to do and stuff like that, they could
Yeah.
replace a couple of them with send priorities. And it's just, they're not. So well, I've said this before in the sense of they haven't got the budget for the send toys. No, they haven't, because they're not saying they need it in their budget.
Yeah.
So if you're saying it is an extra, it's always going to be an extra. If you're not allocating that as a need, or
Yeah.
we'll just allocate that for every classroom, that becomes part of the
Yeah.
budget, and you're never going to not have that
Yeah. And I think sometimes that they almost feel that having somebody externally come in is like a
budget.
criticism. Yeah, and it's not. Oh, that's something that obviously I'll try to endorse, that it's a partnership. It is a partnership, and that's why I also say that it's the parent as well. As much as like it's myself with the schools, the parents very much involved as well, because then that supports the school and the parental engagement as well.
Yeah, I bet it must be nice when you actually get to the point when they realise that they don't actually hate each other.
Yeah.
Like, when they start to get to that relationship and they're like, "Actually, you're all right. You're actually okay."
Yeah.
Like, I think
Yeah.
as much as it does start bad, them sort of relationships do end up stronger in the long run, don't
Yeah.
they? Because it's almost like you don't go back to thinking them like that again. You've kind of
Yeah.
had that negative thought process, and they can only get better, sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
I do think I think it's really important what you're doing, and I think it's very needed. And again, I wish it was something. Well, I don't actually. I'm lying. I don't wish it. I would. I don't wish your job at all, because I realised I've been in it in the
Yeah.
middle sometimes, and it is awful. Like, I've been to parents' meetings when I've done Sen as a parent and seen the parents
Mhm.
switch on that person that's tried to deliver just general advice about EHCP, and they're talking about their
Mhm.
kids. Person saying that this person didn't even work for the school, and you're like, they're the local council, and you're like, and this is
Mm.
their anger, and there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of this, and it's a lot of mental health on both parts. Like, teachers must be stressed out their eyeballs, and I think, to be fair, a lot of this stuff on the teachers was there without Sen Kids. I think Sen Kids have just made the problem a lot more unbearable,
Yeah.
in other than being the problem of the schools crashing right now. I think that
Yeah.
schools, rather than the teachers I'd speak to, it was at crisis anyway, with the level of expectation of how they're
Yeah.
meant to run their class to how it was meant to be delivered.
Yeah.
And Sen Kids have just made the problem a little bit worse. Like, because then now you've
Yeah.
gone, how am I meant to do this one as well?
Yeah.
So I think as well, even understanding that, parents think, because I think it comes across that the Sen Kids are to blame with all the schools.
Mhm.
And every teacher I spoke to have said, no, 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 that's not the case. But I'm like, well, you're not openly saying, that, are you? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like, I think that
Yeah.
understanding of just seeing the middle ground between both of the parents, I think that'd be, parents and the teachers would be great. And I
Yeah.
think it's amazing that you're doing that, and brave, because it
Yeah.
takes a lot of patience on your part, because
Yeah.
you know there's both sides, don't you? And just not to scream and shake them both, like, yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's it. It's almost like the mediation, isn't it?
Exactly that, yeah.
But it's just the impact is so important, and it's worthwhile. It is worthwhile. It's very much a work in progress. Sort of repairing broken down relationships. But when we sit down and sort of look at any outcomes, it is so worth it. And like I say, we know that we do want the child to do well. So why why
Everyone in
wouldn't
that
we?
scenario does, you'd think, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Everyone in the scenario wants the child to do better. It's just we've misalignment through politics and social media, what
yeah,
we're all fighting for, isn't it? We all see like we're fighting on different corners of it when we're not. We're all fighting for
yeah.
that child.
And that's and for schools, obviously the expectations are rising, aren't they? So it's challenging for them too. But I just think that we do need to sort of invest in that personal touch for those students that are struggling, because as much as it's sort of downplayed, behaviour is always going to be communication, whether
Yeah.
it be to an additional need or a trauma response.
Yeah, and as I said, some of when they say that, I think they're talking about, yeah, but you're smashing up the classroom and doing this. This is the last level. The kids,
Mhm,
no ADHD gives you that level of violence. It makes it easier to get there, but the trauma
mhm,
behind not getting a diagnosis, not being on medication for that long, the anxiety of the household falling apart, parents splitting up, that all
mhm.
factors that behaviour.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Like, but they're not. Then they're like, oh, ADHD is this and that, and do you know what I mean? It means they can't just get away with smashing up the school and stuff. You're like, yeah, but that you're not seeing them as a person even then because you're seeing a diagnosis and not. That's a little kid that shouldn't be
mhm.
doing that. Why are they doing that? Like, it's not normal to just do that. No kid grows up in a scenario where they can just do that. And if they do,
Yeah,
that's the trauma. The trauma is they've got no parenting and they're allowed to do what they want. That
mhm.
causes the trauma. So there's never not an
Yeah,
underlying problem for that behaviour.
yeah,
It's just they don't seem to, it's hard to try and have the time, isn't it, in the world we live
yeah.
in to kind of get to that point of seeing what it is.
Yeah. There was somebody that I worked with, a young person, and this was in a pupil referral unit, so obviously he'd been excluded from school. It so we'd gone through some sessions and stuff and actually identified that he couldn't read at all.
Mm.
And that wasn't wrote down anywhere because obviously everything was so clouded by his behaviour, but actually a lot of that would have been down to the frustration that he didn't have his basic reading and writing skills. So it was crazy that, sort of
It got missed.
yeah, and it was all we're at Pro level and we don't actually know and we haven't got it wrote down on paper that he can't read and write.
And that, how frustrating.
Yeah,
Like growing up, not one, just because you don't know what the hell's going on, because reading and writing is so
yeah,
important. And two, like in
yeah,
front of your friends, having to, them catching on to that.
yeah.
Like, that's never going to be
Exactly.
good. Right.
It's much better for a child to think, I'll just smash something up or I'll just do this and cloud it by
It's a better
behaviour.
image, isn't it? It's a
Yeah,
better image. I would
yeah,
always rather that. And I also remember being in school as well. And there's still some of the behaviours you wouldn't tell me different because of that scenario. Because if I
mhm,
didn't do that and actually wasn't masking as well, then I would have, I don't know, you could get bullied or whatever. Yeah, there's certain elements, isn't it? Like
yeah,
you always got that fear and you're not going to consciously go out your way to put yourself in that scenario.
yeah,
By saying you can't read or write is one of them scenarios. Like you're just going to
exactly.
get,
Yeah,
like everyone's going to take the mick out of you. And
yeah,
it's just unfair. But they're kids. Kids are kids. This is what kids do, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
and I understand that they're not going to think of the deep psychological problems that's going to have when a kid's an adult because they're
mhm,
kids. But I would rather be the person that's going to, the guy that's got a little bit of a cool reputation that
yeah,
fights the kid teachers or whatever so often. There's a bit
yeah,
of that because you've still got some grace there, haven't you? You've still got
yeah,
someone looking up to you as not disabled, I suppose.
yeah.
That's what it comes down
That's
to,
it.
isn't it?
That's it. And that's all come from sort of the one-to-one work that we've done and sort of my approach was building that relationship rather than forcing education upon him straight away
Yeah.
because I needed to understand him. I needed to
Mm.
understand sort of how he felt with things and his perception because I think a big thing for him, he didn't feel heard. He didn't feel like anybody was interested. He was just sort of told what he needed to do. And if he didn't want to do it, he's not doing it. But nobody sort of stopped and listened to what he really wanted, what his interests were.
Yeah. And again, as I said, if your person's set to care, you could probably you could always connect what they're interested in to real day life,
Yeah,
as we're finding with the home education system that people
yeah,
are finding ways to do it quite successfully, and alternative education are finding that way. And it seems like that is the route to go in neurodiversity, less of the teaching and more of the relationship
yeah,
building, and you get the results from the teaching anyway. Like
yeah.
you have to have the relationship there.
That's it, and that's it. I think relationships is so core to everything.
Mm.
It's when there's additional needs and just for a child to feel safe in school, for relationships between parents and schools. Actually, relationships will be core to a lot of things going well.
I mean, think of that, what a parent goes through when they have that bad relationship from a school or even a teacher, because you're both going to be anxious at school
Mhm.
times. You both don't want to be there. You're going to think who's going to be judging, what's going to be said today. That's daily, 5 days a week. That's exhausting.
Mhm.
Like just from a relationship that might not actually be as bad as you think it is on both ends.
Yeah,
And it's like both of you would go through the same scenario of every day having that anxiety or when's that email coming? When's that phone call coming? When am I going to have to meet this person face? When
yeah,
are they going to come in shouting at me? That's going to take its toll doing that
yeah,
for like, again, that teachers change every year. So you've got a year, like at
yeah.
least. And if it's a school problem and you've just been outcast from the school, that's a whole school life. Like,
Mhm.
so it does have a massive impact, relationships breaking down, and more impact than I would say than any kind of learning would do anyway. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, missing a
definitely.
test or whatever is going to do, that relationship breaking down has
Yeah.
more impact than that massively.
Exactly. And like I said, and we're talking about a point where that child has most likely hit crisis point for
Mm.
the relationship to be challenging from both sides. So again, if we're identifying any needs and sort of input in that early intervention, we'll support these sort of things so it doesn't lead to a breakdown. And we can give the child, they may not be suited to mainstream school, but we can still make it a little bit more manageable, identifying strategies that will help support them just until they do get access to those sort of specialist provisions.
Yeah, and it's good because I suppose the strategies you do as well are the ones that they should be learning from, like the schools and the parents. So it's
Yeah.
another thing that gets missed in this madness, isn't it? That the actual there is training, and like I said, I used to work in it as well, and there is ways to work with it, but it's just so far in the fight about what an EHCP is and blah blah blah.
Mm.
I see it all the time. Kids be out of school for a year and a half, and no one's done anything with them.
Yeah.
So like even
Yeah.
so they've got no behaviours, they got no they don't understand it any further. They don't do this. They
Yeah.
just be stuck for a year waiting or fighting back and forth for an EHCP for this.
Yeah.
When that gets done, no one, school or parents, still knows what to do because they haven't been taught, and it's people like you
Mhm.
that need to teach them. But they're not. This is why it's mad that they're not. You're not everywhere.
Yeah.
Like you're not just in every school doing it all the time, and there's still
Yeah.
that blocker. And
Yeah.
but it is annoying because I guarantee the people you've worked with, it's been like life changing. Every single one of
Yeah.
them. And they'll
Yeah.
always remember you as well. Like I get that sort of stands out. That's always like that early help worker that actually took your
Mhm.
side, or that that's going to live forever. So what you're doing is you can't even imagine what that does to families when they actually get there. It's just
Yeah.
annoying that that's not recognised to the point that it's like it seems like it should be mandatory.
Yeah. And when I've worked in schools, I think it is something that we always set out to do, but the capacity's just never there because there's the expectations, or academically as well. So it is hard. That's why I think that for me, if position it as an external service is better because I'm invested in just delivering that. And
Yeah,
that's the sole focus. There's no shift. There's no me going to cover another lesson or me doing this or me doing that. That's what I'm invested in, and that's what's going to happen. So we're not just writing down on paper. These are our old. I've been there myself with my son. We've wrote down on his assess plan, do a review. We're doing this. We're doing that. But then it's God knows how long until he started this Lego therapy because the teacher that they'd put down to me hadn't trained on it, or
yeah,
and it's sort of we're putting down all these ideas and things like that, but actually the capacity's not there, and that's not the teacher's fault. Or that they're obviously the idea's there, but delivering it is another thing, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. No, that's yeah. It's just such a minefield. Is the only way to describe it, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like everywhere you're trying to cover something, you put like a patch on one thing, and then it just leaks out somewhere else. It's like kind of like that, isn't it? Like it's so hard to get it right, but I think the way forward is your company and stuff like that. And I know that, and it's gonna be shocking to some people to hear me say that, but I know that. I won't be a prick all the time and say that I don't know that. I do know that there needs to be this. The only way forward. And I
yeah,
do think, and I'm starting to see, and I'm starting to feel sorry for the teachers now after the white paper, because they are saying now openly, we're not gonna be able
yeah,
to do this. So if anything does go in the
yeah,
future, I can't then start saying it's a teach this, because they have said it. They have been honestly. They've said
yeah,
it's not gonna work. And I think
yeah,
it's now is the perfect time that we do start uniting through that. It's not gonna work. What the government are trying to do is
yeah.
ridiculous. And we kind of need to kind of come in the middle and kind of do you do like group works as well? Do you do like virtual work, sorry, as well? Or is it all face to face?
Yeah, because obviously there's some students that would prefer that. So I'm
Mm,
I'm really flexible on how I deliver it, like say in the home, in a community centre, in the school, like sort of we all agree sort of what's going to work for that child. I'm not going to, and that's why I'm so focused on it being a personalised plan. We'll make it work,
yeah.
and then we'll grow and we'll see those improvements. So we might start virtually, and then we'll meet, and then we'll build
That's
on
good.
that, and it's all these little sort of things that we can celebrate then and say, wow, like look how far he's come and things like that. There's so many little things and little milestones that are actually like really big, especially like for their personal development.
Well, it's the first time they probably, especially if just an ADHD diagnosis, been told that they're doing anything good or correct
Yeah,
or had that attention on them that they kind of needed, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
so
yeah,
I imagine that's actually amazing. I'm going to make sure.
yeah.
So, what is the best way for people to get in contact with you, for your company?
So our website is westmids.org, and we've got information on there. I am having a complete web remake because I'm not very good with that side of things.
Yeah, same.
So I can pop my email. I've got a direct email, so I, I'm really open, like, with anything that people want to talk about. So you can talk to me for any sort of advice, and I'm more than happy to give strategies and things like that. You don't necessarily have to sign up to a program or intervention or anything like that. I'll always help as best as I can. So yeah, I can pop the email, and then if you just let me know directly if there's anything I can do to support.
Yeah, definitely. Because I was definitely saying, I think we spoke about it before about the workshops, because I definitely need
Yeah,
you in the SENDhelp app, 100%, because that's an element that I think needs a lot of understanding, isn't it? About what you're doing is actually like coming from both sides, and because and it would be nice, I think, for the teachers, because they've had to pick sides going into that app, really, because they are
yeah,
a STEM parent first. You know what I mean? But it
yeah,
might be nice for some of them in there to be like, oh, like at least, it's not,
yeah,
because it is a minefield, and it is not as easy as it
yeah.
seems some of the times, is it? Like everyone seems to,
No,
oh, just put a fidget toy in there. No, it's not. That's going to have a chain reaction of
yeah,
16 different things that are just going to be.
yeah,
It's going to end up
yeah,
£1 million. That one thing costs millions. Like you'd have no
yeah,
idea. But no,
yeah,
I
definitely.
would happily, well, get started on that actually as soon as after this, actually, I suppose, actually get you in front of the podcast and get you working everyone. But I'd happily have you kind of
Yeah,
coming on doing workshops with everyone. And I said, we've got kids on there as well. And I was just before we go as well,
yeah,
what isn't it refreshing working with children? After all of this, I find it's one of the newest things we've done this year is adding the kids classes in, and it's
yeah,
given me so much hope for life, because
yeah,
kids are just such a great. They're just so good, aren't
yeah,
they? They're just
yeah,
neutral with all of this madness. We've all got their
yeah,
genders and faults, and they just come in and don't care.
yeah,
Like, and they just show us how it's done. Like, they're the
definitely.
only one in that room that doesn't care about the fighting in between it all, and
Yeah.
it just like make cracking jokes with all of us.
Yeah,
You're like, what are you doing?
yeah,
Like,
that's it. That's it. They're just in their own little bubble. And it is nice, and that's what we've got to remind ourselves of sometimes. Children are just so innocent, like their perception of things is so innocent, and
we can learn
it
from
is hard
them.
to forget, isn't it? Like I say, it sometimes gets clouded by behaviour and things like that, but they're just children.
Yeah.
Even teenagers, they're still just children. They're
They
still
want to do
trying
children
to
things, isn't it?
navigate
But yeah.
life.
Yeah, it is. It's true. It is true. And I'm glad that, as I said, I'm glad that you've seen that light as well, because as I say, I had to mention it, give the kids a shout out, because they are
Yeah,
actually, for a long time, it was just me and parents, me and parents, me and parents, me
yeah,
and parents. And it really got, not exhausting, but the emotional toll of that is really heavy, because you got the emotional of yourself, and then you feel guilt because I'm a parent too, so I know exactly how they feel, blah, blah. You get a kid, they don't care about any of that. They just
yeah,
turn up and just do stuff, and
yeah,
you're like, "Whoa, okay."
yeah,
Like, they're not talking about big,
yeah.
deep politics and stuff, and you're like, they're just
That's
like,
it.
it's the little things of just, it's crazy, like, how
Yeah,
far that sets you back just working with the kids again.
yeah. And that's why I think having that student voice and child voice is massive. Children aren't feeling heard, are they? And
No,
when we do listen to them, it's massive for them. They're so validated, and it's so nice for them to feel heard, because they've got so many people trying to say that they need this, they need that. And sometimes when we hear it directly from the kids, that's what we need to take, isn't it? And that's what we need to run with.
you can't out negotiate the child's voice,
Yeah,
can you? When they say
yeah,
that in a meeting, you can't then go, "Oh, actually, no, they don't mean that."
yeah,
And we
yeah,
need to realise that their voice is there the whole time. You don't have to wait till these last meetings
yeah,
to get that bit of information out of
definitely.
them. We should teach them, as you're doing, early,
Yeah,
and get it out
definitely.
there first before they
Yeah,
have to stick it all in and explode
yeah,
everywhere.
yeah, that's it. So, no, it's massive. So, yeah,
I know, but yeah, no, it's been great. I think it's been an absolute benefit. It's been a good podcast. I think it's been a good, well-rounded episodes, to be fair. And as I said, I think this is gonna more like the beginning than the end. So
yeah,
it's, as I said, it's the introduction. I like to say the introduction podcast to I was working together and
yeah,
a cause and stuff like that, because
yeah, no, definitely.
I think what you're doing is brave, because I did it. I
Yeah,
ventured it. I come out of that quickly, and I would not do it without that white middle class Sharon in there or someone there to do that. Because I was like, I'm not putting these politics. You need to, it's just a game of it's a game of chess, and I ain't got the
yeah,
patience for it, really. And it's just it's nice to see that it's still been done.
yeah, no, definitely. Bro.
So yeah. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you. It was lovely.
And yeah, and we'll see you soon. Well, so people in the app will see you soon anyway. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
no,
it.
definitely. I'd love to. It'd be
You know,
great.
thank you very much.
Fab. No worries.